Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Beth and Rip's reported spin-off title would confirm their show is really Yellowstone Season 6. Beth, Kelly Riley, and Rip's Cole Hauser spin-off title was just announced, and it confirms that the show will look as close as possible to the original, emulating Yellowstone Season 6. Despite Yellowstone dominating television for 5 seasons, executive producer Taylor Sheridan closed out his original series in December 2024. Yellowstone Season 5 saw the death of John Dutton IA after Kevin Costner's Yellowstone exit, which prompted the discontinuation of the flagship. However, ahead of the finale, a casting deal broke the news that Riley and Hauser would reprise Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler in an offshoot. Taylor Sheridan has another modern-day Yellowstone saga in the works, starring Michelle Pfeiffer as Stacy Clyburn, but we don't know much about the Madison story yet. The franchise has also teased a Yellowstone spin-off titled 6666, which would follow life on the Four Sixes Ranch in Texas. Additionally, Sheridan will add another prequel about the Dutton family into the mix, with his teased 1944 presumably picking up where 1923 Season 2's finale left off, albeit 20 years later. However, of all Yellowstone's new shows, including Case Dutton's, Luke Grimes, Beth and Rip's show will most resemble Yellowstone. Beth and Rip were the obvious choices to lead Yellowstone if it continued. There was a lot of buzz about Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser taking over for Kevin Costner as the neo-Western leads before their spin-off announcement. Still, while Taylor Sheridan decided to create a new show for Beth and Rip's continuation, the Lovebirds offshoot will echo the original, with its title as proof. A report from Bloomberg announced that Beth and Rip's spin-off will reportedly be called Dutton Ranch. Presumably, the title is the namesake of the couple's new ranch in Dillon, which we get a glimpse of in Yellowstone Season 5's finale. This moniker sounds familiar, since John's original ranch was called the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. Dropping Yellowstone and keeping Dutton Ranch makes it clear that Beth and Rip aren't hiding their connections to the former largest contiguous ranch in the United States. Sheridan leans into Beth and Rip's spin-off's robust connection to Yellowstone. Dutton Ranch is arguably the strongest connection Sheridan could make to the original show and ranch without copying it, especially considering the Dutton Wheeler property won't sit adjacent to the Yellowstone National Park, which gave the original ranch and series its title. The Dutton Ranch title suggests that Beth and Rip's show will revolve around ranching, confirming it will have the same premise as the original. This contrasts with Case Dutton's Yellowstone spin-off, which will reportedly be a procedural show for CBS, probably focusing more on police work or investigation. That said, Casey's show will be a far cry from the original, so we can expect Taylor Sheridan to incorporate the elements he's reusing from Yellowstone into Dutton Ranch. Plus, with Beth and Rip as its leads, Dutton Ranch is already continuing Yellowstone's story. As the main characters of the series besides Kevin Costner, any continuation with Beth and Rip will look like Yellowstone's de facto continuation. Sheridan has already told us what to expect at the end of Yellowstone, with the ranch that Beth and Rip settle at 40 miles west of Dillon, Montana, surely being their new operation. Likely to include some Yellowstone Season 5 characters, Beth and Rip's show may also continue other Yellowstone stories, like what's next for some of the Yellowstone Ranch cowboys if they wind up working at the Dutton Ranch. Still, Beth and Rip's show will look a little different, especially without Kevin Costner, as did Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2. That said, further proving that Dutton Ranch would look a lot like life at the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch, a report from Puck suggested that Beth and Rip's spin-off was looking at casting a Kevin Costner type, further suggesting that Taylor Sheridan is getting as close as possible to what worked about Yellowstone. With so much crossover with the flagship, Beth and Rip's story can still differentiate itself by taking on the more refined qualities of Sheridan's other spin-offs. Taylor Sheridan's other Yellowstone shows, created after the original, differentiate themselves in their sophistication and tone. While it won't show a different era and time, Beth and Rip's offshoot could feel more like a Yellowstone prequel than a continuation of the flagship. Many have said that, while it's a great watch, Yellowstone has soap opera-like qualities, and a new show is a clean slate and an opportunity to break away from this label, which is a disservice to the franchise. That a Yellowstone spin-off centered around Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler might be in the works. Longtime fans of Taylor Sheridan's neo-Western saga didn't raise eyebrows. They nodded with quiet certainty. After all, if any two characters have carried the emotional, philosophical, and unapologetically raw backbone of Yellowstone, it's Beth and Rip. So if this spin-off moves forward, and especially if the title is as telling as rumors suggest, we might not be getting a new series at all. We might be witnessing Yellowstone Season 6 in everything but name. The heart of the ranch. Beth and Rip aren't just two characters in a sprawling ensemble. They are the heart of the Dutton Ranch. John's iron rule has always cast a shadow over the series, but it's Beth's fire and Rip's unwavering loyalty that keep the house standing when the foundations start to crumble. They're not just defending the land, they're defending a way of life, a love forged in chaos, grief, and cattle dust. A spin-off starring them would logically continue that fight. And if the reported title bears any resemblance to something like Yellowstone, 2024 or Dutton Legacy, then it's not a new saga, it's just Season 6, repackaged with a new coat of Montana grit. Why a spin-off instead of a straight Season 6? Of course, it's not as simple as naming conventions. Behind the scenes, the tension between Kevin Costner and the production team has been widely reported. With Costner likely riding off into the cinematic sunset, Yellowstone as it originally existed had to evolve. Taylor Sheridan, master of the pivot, appears ready to keep the story alive by shifting the spotlight to the next generation, or, in this case, the surviving champions. A show centered around Beth and Rip would be the natural continuation. It wouldn't just be a spin-off, it would be the show. A title speaks volumes. Titles are never just titles, especially in a franchise as thematically rich as Yellowstone. If the rumored spin-off bears a title that ties it to the ranch or the Duttons directly, then it's more than an Easter egg, it's a signal, something like Dutton, Blood and Soil, or the Dutton Code, or even Yellowstone. Rip and Beth would tell the audience this is no narrative detour. It's canon, it's central, it's Season 6 in disguise. And perhaps that's the point. Rather than get bogged down in the logistics of recasting or writing around John Dutton's potential off-screen demise, Sheridan might choose to let the old story end while beginning the new one under different branding, with the same bones underneath. The legacy of Beth Dutton. Beth has always been more than a supporting character. She's a tempest, a philosopher of pain, and a woman who would salt the earth if it meant protecting what she loves. She's lost her mother, sacrificed her ability to be a mother, and fought Wall Street, real estate barons, and her own demons to defend the ranch. In a potential spin-off, Beth's battles wouldn't cease. They'd evolve. Without John's stabilizing force and sometimes controlling hand, Beth's vision of how to rule the ranch would finally come to the forefront. Would she rise to become her father's true heir, or prove that the trauma that shaped her also cursed her? In this way, the spin-off would naturally explore the same themes that Yellowstone has mined since Episode 1. Legacy, blood, land, loyalty, and justice. Rip, the reluctant king. Rip Wheeler has always played second fiddle to John, even while being the one who silently keeps everything together. With John gone, or gone in spirit, Rip becomes the king without a crown. A show centering him would likely put him in the uncomfortable position of leading openly rather than in the shadows. Imagine the tension between Rip's quiet, brutal practicality and Beth's firebrand intensity. Without John to mediate, we could see the Duttons evolve or implode. A spin-off focusing on these two isn't just a continuation, it's a culmination. Reframing the myth, every great Western is a myth in motion. Sheridan's universe is sprawling, filled with prequels like 1883 and 1923, and side stories yet to be named. But Beth and Rip's story, set in the contemporary American West, is the linchpin of the Yellowstone mythos. This supposed spin-off wouldn't be setting off on a tangent. It would be turning the page. It could pick up right where Season 5 ends, with John Dutton's absence hanging in the air like wildfire smoke, and the ranch left to Beth, Rip, Carter, and perhaps Case and Monica. Or it might jump forward, showing us a ranch restructured, a power dynamic reset, and a new frontier for an old story. From a business standpoint, let's not ignore the obvious. Branding matters. If Paramount wants to freshen up the show's image without severing ties to its most bankable characters, calling this continuation a spin-off is a stroke of genius.